The government was pretty quick to accept all of the recommendations of the Gershon review and have since then implemented a 3-year ICT Reform Program. I've been watching pretty closely, and I think it's really important to share some of the primary focal points of that program. One of the most interesting is the review of business as usual expenditure. Now, these are the big contracts that have been in place for a long time across agencies. Originally they may have started out in clusters of agencies, but since then have evolved into something else. The good thing about the Gershon review and the recommendations is they instructed a review of that business as usual expenditure. So all of the inefficiencies that had crept into those big contracts that weren't bringing anything new to the way governments manage their ICT were really challenged. And I was really pleased to see over the next 3 or 4 year period, some $570 million worth of savings was identified. As a result, a $55 million, what I call an innovation dividend, but I know that the government calls it the reinvestment fund, has been created out of those savings. That's a really good result because that money, as Gershon recommended, can now be reinvested in innovative solutions. That's one of the clever things about the way Gershon has recommended change in federal government ICT management. Another part of the ICT Reform Program was the 39 recommendations in the original review. Out of that 39, 16 are already being continued to work on, but 10 have already been delivered. So it's really, again, good to see ASIMO, the Australian Government Information Management Office, who's the lead agency in implementation, moving ahead quickly with a whole series of those recommendations. There is an ICT sustainability plan, and ASIMO is looking at how that can be rolled out across all agencies and departments, and they're working closely with the Department of Environment, Water, Heritage and the Arts to implement an ICT green procurement kit. Another initiative that I think is critically important is optimisation of the ICT procurement panels. We need to be more efficient in how we procure our ICT. It's the biggest ICT market in Australia, if you like. The Commonwealth spends the most money of any organisation on ICT. So how we procure our hardware, our software, our services has a direct impact on the health and growth of Australian ICT companies. Another important area is skills. I was really pleased to see the focus the Gershon review put on workforce issues. It's really easy to overlook them, but critically important if we're going to have the right people with the right skills in the public sector doing the work. Now, we know under the Howard government that the number of contractors really blew out. What Gershon has recommended and the government has accepted is to refocus a proper skill set and career paths for IT professionals in the government sector, in the public service. So all in all, the ICT Reform Program, I think, has been a very useful and practical whole-of-government approach to ICT. I think it gets the measure right between what needs to be done by agencies and departments themselves and what can be a useful addition and support from a public policy perspective across the whole of government. I commend the work of ASIMO to date. I think they're doing an extremely good job. But I also like to see agencies and departments responding through the CIO's committee, the new CEO's committee of agencies and departments, and indeed the political leadership coming through the various ministers and in progressing this whole reform agenda. So I'm quite optimistic about the future. I will, as always, be watching it closely, and I'm really pleased to see that we aren't repeating the mistakes of the past. So I'd just like to close this particular vodcast off by saying a couple of things. First of all, I'm really keen to hear your views about procurement policy, how you think it's tracking and what the impact is, particularly on our local ICT businesses and market. I'm also really keen to try and identify where innovation is occurring. This is something that's very important to the government because with that reinvestment fund, good ideas in one agency or department really need to be shared, I think talked about, promoted, and possibly find a good fit in another agency or department. So how we share the information where good things are happening in the public sector, I think will help lift not only ICT services and industry across the board, but as I said before, really help improve the quality of service we as a government can provide to the citizens of this country.